Just after midnight on October 17th, 2013, a brick came crashing through the rear glass sliding door of a quaint little townhouse in the college town of San Marcos, Texas. Within just hours, 3 people would be dead. The flames of a love triangle forever extinguished. This is the story of Daniel Stillwell. San Marcos is known for a lot of things. One of the biggest is Texas State University. It's a notorious party school in central Texas, and it also happens to give people the chance to earn a degree. Notable alumni include Lyndon Baines Johnson, former US president, and country music superstar George Strait. Oh, and of course, yours truly. You see, this story takes place in 2013, just a few weeks after I moved to Dallas, and the people involved in it, I've actually crossed paths with them multiple times. So it goes without saying that makes this story extra unsettling for me personally. At the time I was working at Sprint selling mobile phones, and I was going to school full-time, I was working full-time, so I didn't have a lot of time left for other stuff, namely things like packing a lunch to work or to school. Now there were lots of places for me to go and grab a bite to eat or get takeout or fast food, but one of my favorite places to go was actually Chipotle, and it was right across the street, right across University Boulevard. And that's where I met Hailey Nichols. Most of our interactions were me just placing an order, but I mean, I thought she was pretty. I tried to chat her up one time and she was pretty dismissive. I just put it aside and kept on with my life, and I never really thought about it. Until...
Developing news tonight out of San Marcos.
22-year-old Hailey Nichols was shot and killed at her apartment early Thursday.
Chipotle has a lot of employees, and one of them was named Daniel Stillwell. Originally from Houston, Daniel had attended classes at Texas State University, but he eventually dropped out and he still stuck around San Marcos. Eventually, he took a job at Chipotle. The same Chipotle Hailey worked at. And it's not totally clear when, but at some point, Daniel and Hailey started a relationship. So they started dating, they had their honeymoon phase, everything was going great, but only for a little bit. You see, Hailey and Daniel's relationship wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. They had been drifting apart for some time, and Daniel's controlling demeanor just kept pushing her away. They seemed like a happy couple on the outside. Acquaintances said they seemed just fine.
They were always really nice, and they never seemed to have problems or anything like that, so that's why I was kind of in shock.
But underneath the surface, the final straws were breaking. You see, Hailey had actually been telling friends about what was going on. She'd been trying to get away from Daniel for quite some time by this point, and Daniel... he wasn't too keen on letting her go. The relationship continued to degrade, and eventually, they split. But I highly doubt it was mutual, and it was probably more akin to Hailey breaking out of jail than breaking up with her partner. And at some point, either before or after that breakup, Hailey took interest in another man, Jesse Robledo. And so, San Marcos love triangle was born. Now Jesse, he wasn't an unknown person. He was actually a manager of Chipotle. Or more specifically, he was the general manager of the same Chipotle that both Hailey and Daniel worked at. Now, I've got to say, I didn't know Daniel. I didn't really know anyone from this story. I'd only really crossed paths with him before. But what I can say is I can only imagine how much rage was coursing through Daniel when his girlfriend not only left him, but left him for their boss. It must have felt like an incredible betrayal, but the reality is, it wasn't. She's a young, newly single woman, and she's free to do whatever she wants, regardless of how Daniel may feel about that. On October 16th, Daniel Stillwell and his roommate, Daniel Trotter, went to the Green Parrot Bar, located in downtown San Marcos, also known as The Square. The pair probably went to get a few drinks, knock back some brews, let off some steam, relax a little bit, but all of a sudden, Stillwell seemed agitated and got up and he left. Just a few moments later, at 12:38 a.m., the San Marcos police received an emergency call.
San Marcos 911, what's your emergency?
Yeah, hi, I live at the executive townhomes. I just heard some stuff at my neighbor's house. I think they're having a fight or something. I heard some screaming, and I think I might have heard a gunshot.
2 officers arrived on scene. They knocked on the door, but there was no answer. 2 more officers arrived on scene and went to the back of the property. They immediately noticed that the rear sliding glass door had been shattered, with a brick laying on top of the shards inside. Given the circumstances, the officers entered the property. They called out to see if anybody would respond. Nobody did. They searched the first floor. Nobody was there. So they headed up the stairs. They entered the bedroom. Inside the bedroom was a horrific scene. Hailey was laying face down on the floor next to her bed. On top of that bed was Jesse.
Police say everything unfolded in apartment 303 just after midnight. Daniel Stillwell allegedly used a brick to break into his ex-girlfriend Hailey Nichols' apartment, where she was upstairs with her new boyfriend, Jesse Robledo.
Both were victims of direct gunshot wounds to the head, and they were declared dead by the time emergency personnel arrived. About 20 minutes after 911 was first called, Daniel Trotter was being interviewed at the San Marcos police station by a detective. Trotter shared some extremely alarming information. He said that Stillwell had called him and told him that he had murdered both Hailey and Jesse, and he was now going to kill himself. Trotter further claimed that Stillwell told him that he had driven by Hailey's house just before the murders and noticed Jesse's car outside. Filled with blinding, jealous rage, Stillwell turned around and went back to the residence that he shared with Trotter. He knew exactly what he was going to do. He went into Trotter's room, went into his closet, retrieved his firearm, and went back out the door. Arriving at Hailey's townhouse again, he went and tried the front door. It was locked. Went to the back door. It was locked. He looked around, saw a loose brick, and threw it right through the door. After shattering the rear glass door, Stillwell entered. He then went to the stairs, went up them, and went directly into Hailey's room. And it was there that he saw his former lover and his former supervisor together.
Police in the college town of San Marcos say Stillwell became jealous that Nichols was dating Robledo, so he grabbed his roommate's gun.
We don't know exactly what happened when Stillwell entered that bedroom, but we do know that an argument and a scuffle ensued, and it escalated into Stillwell shooting both Jesse and Hailey one time each, in the head, execution style. Trotter further stated that, quote, he didn't want to live in a cage, but was going to kill himself by driving off a cliff, end quote. San Marcos police quickly moved into action, obtaining a subpoena for location records on Stillwell's cell phone. They were able to track his movements until about 2 a.m., putting his last location at the locally infamous Devil's Backbone. At about 1 p.m. of the same day, Stillwell's car was found at the bottom of the Devil's Backbone Ridge, with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Stillwell left this earth an angry, bitter, jealous man, taking with him 2 young lovers that he couldn't bear to see together. The amount of destruction left behind, the amount of trauma inflicted on grieving families.
Andrea Uribe says the only thing buffering the shock of her brother's murder is the outpouring of love from friends and family.
He was a really good person.
I know.
He has so many friends and family coming to the house, like tons of friends, tons of family. So obviously he was loved by everybody.
An eruption of violence that at its roots was fueled by a toxic relationship. An abusive, unstable man versus a couple that were seeking love in an otherwise cruel and evil world. And unfortunately, this time, evil won. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the story of the San Marcos Love Triangle. If you did enjoy it and you want to see more, please hit that subscribe button, thumbs up, drop a comment down below, tell me what you thought. If you hated it, let me know, give it a thumbs down. Just give me some feedback, let me know what you think. I had a lot of fun making this, and like I said, this is a little bit of a personal story to me. I didn't see anything about this story online. Nobody has really commented on it, but I hope to at least let the world know about Hailey Nichols and Jesse Robledo. Until next time, thank you.